Just as a disclaimer, there's going to be opinions in this video. These are just things I've thought about. I am no authority, and I just wanted to talk about them. This video is an open discussion, so if you disagree with me, let me know. I want to hear input. And now that that's over with, let's get right to the video. Star Citizen currently has 3 levels of combat: FPS, ground vehicles, and ship combat. But the way that those levels of combat are balanced around each other isn't perfect. That's why I think placeable shields will balance the game and give us the gameplay we want. The biggest imbalance is between FPS and ship combat, which makes sense when you look at the difference of speed, health, and tools at each level. While I believe that spaceships should overpower a player in most situations outside of the player being in some kind of base or bunker, there are situations where the ship should not have an advantage. Specifically, I'm talking about in cases where a solo bomber can come in and wipe out all the ground assets an organization might have. This is why orgs need some way to protect themselves from solo bombers coming in and wiping out all of their ground assets before they can take out the bomber. This is why I feel deployable planetary shields would be a natural addition into the game to add more balance and create more fun gameplay opportunities in Star Citizen when it comes to combat between air vehicles and ground assets. So how would placeable planetary shields affect combat in Star Citizen? Well, for one, they would prevent a single bomber from taking out everything on the ground. The way that Star Citizen is currently balanced allows for a single bomb to take out pretty much every single ground vehicle that is in the game. And keep in mind, the idea isn't to make bombers useless, it's to rebalance the game so that a single bomb doesn't reset an entire battlefield. And adding things like planetary shields would add a dynamic key objective to battlefields to allow air forces and bombers to be even more effective on a battlefield, but first requiring ground vehicles to take out this key asset. It's easy to imagine an org taking a key location like Jumptown and then getting a cargo ship to unload a key asset like a shield generator to then protect all of their ground assets currently at the location. I don't think they'd be overpowered either. Because of their limited health pools, a group of bombers would easily be able to take them out, meaning the shield generator would only slow down an organized force and not stop them entirely, effectively giving the defenders more time but not stopping the attackers from getting through. The only thing they would prevent would be a single bomb from taking out a group of players. Assuming these placeable shield generators use the same components as the largest ships in Star Citizen, like the 890 Jump, they would only have a size 4 shield generator that might be able to withstand 3 to 4 bombs at most. This would mean that even if you were using the largest shield generator that's currently in the game, an organized group of players with 1 bomber could easily take out the shield generator. Planetary shield generators can also be balanced by changing how large their shield bubble is, changing how difficult they are to move, and changing how long they take to set up. The largest, most powerful planetary shield generators might be so large that only dedicated cargo ships could be big enough to carry them, making it to where in a dangerous situation they couldn't be deployed. The different sizes of shield generator would carry different sized components, changing how long they take to set up and how powerful they are. Smaller planetary shield generators could be transported on dropships like the Valkyrie or Cutlass and then deployed via handheld tractor beams. Aside from how shield generators can be balanced, I also feel that they make up for some of the shortcomings that ground vehicles have. While spaceships in Star Citizen have speed that can allow them to avoid getting hit and allow them to escape sticky situations, currently ground vehicles don't have the option of escaping from any kind of airborne attack. Because of this, I feel like if ground vehicles were able to go under a shield generator to gain a defensive advantage, it would make up for some of their shortcomings. To make things a bit clearer, what I mean by all this is to say that I feel shield generators would add unique gameplay, more dynamic battlefields, would make the game more balanced, and encourage more combined arms gameplay. So now that we've talked about the role planetary shields could play in the game, let's talk about some alternatives to planetary shields. One alternative people have talked about is adding flak cannons to counter bombers. These would work by allowing a ground vehicle to replace one of its weapons with a flak cannon that is able to take out missiles and bombs that are coming at it. While flak cannons offer a great strategic option, I feel planetary shields still have a place even if those get added to the game. Flak cannons would be very effective against missiles and bombs because they're unarmored, but in Star Citizen, spaceships do have armor, and so I don't think flak cannons would be very effective against them. This means that planetary shields would still be important as to protect the ground vehicles from spaceships that they can't destroy immediately. To put this in an MMO perspective, having ground vehicles operate without a planetary shield would allow them to operate as stealthy glass cannons that can use their guns, missiles, flat cannons, or whatever other weapons they have to stealthily attack other targets on a battlefield. While having ground vehicles operating inside of a planetary shield would make them more tanky area denial weapons that can only be placed in certain places, functioning like tanks for their group. Some other details about planetary shields that I would like to talk about is whether they can be moved or not, and how they fit into the lore of the game. Planetary shields should fill a strategic gap when it comes to protecting stationary key points on a planet. If planetary shields could operate while moving, it would make them too versatile and take them out of that strategic niche. I think a lore reason can also be used to justify why planetary shields could not be used while moving. The shields that are currently in game were developed by humanity and use shield emitters to conform to the shape of the ship. That almost sounds like a tongue twister. We also know through the lore that the Tevarin have very advanced shield technology. So I don't think it would be too much of a stretch to say that planetary shields were developed by the Tevarin that don't require shield emitters but can't be used while moving, maybe because they have to calculate the shield shape to the surrounding terrain, and if the shield generator moves, it has to recalculate and redeploy the shield. It would also be a cool touch if planetary shields, if ever implemented into the game, would look a little different from ship shields to show that it is a technology adopted from a different species. In a similar vein to the air shields in the hangars, which we know are also adopted from the Tevarin. I think another key detail about planetary shield generators that would be important for the gameplay would be for them to not be just shield generators or shield emitters, but for them to actually be a device that you put shield generators and other components into. For example, at a shop you would purchase your planetary shield generator, and it would come either empty or with basic components. Then from there you can take it and upgrade the shield generator inside, upgrade its computer systems to make it charge faster. Depending on how they're powered, it could either be you can change their batteries so that way it could either last longer or have more strength, or I don't know if they could have a generator that runs on hydrogen fuel or something, so that way you can change its fuel tank and generator, allowing the player to customize their planetary shield generators however they want for the applications they need it for. This would also add a level of engineering and repair gameplay to shield generators, adding more complexity to them and making them not just a one-sided feature. Having that level of engineering and resource gameplay to these planetary shield generators would also add another level of strategy to them, because if you were in a fight that was long enough, it might run out of energy or fuel without transports coming in, which means that if you were dominated by an air force, your ground force will only last as long as the shield generator, and if you can't get any supply ships through whatever blockade or attack is attacking your location, your planetary shield is going to run out of energy or fuel and have to turn off. Anyway, that's been my thoughts on planetary shields and why they should be implemented into Star Citizen, and then also a few ideas about how their implementation would affect the game and how their implementation could be brought about. But if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put that in the comment section below. I'd be happy to continue this discussion and to see what other people think about this idea. Alright, thank you for watching. If you thought that this video was at all thought-provoking or at least a little bit interesting, please leave a like. Subscribe if you'd like to see more stuff from me, and have a good day.